Welcome to the SoulHypnoVibe Podcast. Hey everyone, I'm Jocelyn, and I'm so excited to welcome you to the SoulHypnoVibe Podcast. We're here to explore the power of meditation, manifestation, and so much more. We're bringing you fresh, up-to-date insights on everything from mindfulness practices to personal growth and living your best life. But here's the best part. Each week, we're bringing in a range of amazing hosts and special guests who are experts in various areas of meditation, manifestation, and personal development. Every episode is packed with new perspectives, inspiration, and ideas to help you make real changes in your life. If you're loving what we're talking about and want to be part of the SoulHypnoVibe community, don't forget to join us by subscribing to our podcast. And if you'd like to show some extra love, you can always buy us a coffee to help keep the good vibes flowing. Just follow the donation link in the description below. So, grab your favorite drink, get comfortable, and let's dive into today's conversation. We can't wait to have you on this journey with us.
All right, let's jump right in. We're taking a deep dive into affirmation science today. And, our listeners sent in this great blog post, The Science of Affirmations, by Dr. David R. Hamilton. It really gets you thinking about the power of these little statements, right? So we're going to unpack that. The science behind affirmations, both the kind that are rooted in our personal values and the broader ones, what I call standard affirmations, the ones many of us use for self-improvement.
Yeah, it's amazing how much research there is now on how affirmations can literally change our brain activity, even motivate healthier choices.
Exactly. Like, how do these words, these phrases we repeat to ourselves, actually make a difference in our lives? The blog post mentions this guy, Émile Coué, who was way ahead of his time back in the late 1800s.
Oh, Coué was fascinating. He was actually, believe it or not, an apothecary.
An apothecary, like he made medicines.
He did. And that's where it all started for him. He noticed that when he praised the effectiveness of a medicine, it often worked better for his patients.
Wow, even if the medicine itself wasn't that great.
Even then, he was essentially witnessing the placebo effect in action.
That's incredible. So he was onto something with the power of suggestion. It's like our minds can influence our physical well-being.
Exactly. And that's what led him to develop his system of optimistic autosuggestions, which were basically early versions of affirmations.
So these optimistic autosuggestions were his thing, huh? When did the term affirmations come into the picture?
Well, Coué's work definitely laid the groundwork, but the term affirmations itself evolved over time. It became popular in the mid-20th century with self-help authors like Napoleon Hill and Norman Vincent Peale.
Yeah, I can see how their books would have introduced the concept to a wider audience. But even before all that, there was this intuitive understanding that our thoughts and beliefs can shape our reality, right?
Definitely. But it wasn't until the late 1980s that we got some serious scientific research on affirmations.
Right, with Claude Steele and his self-affirmation theory. So, what's the difference between his theory and what Coué was doing?
Steele specifically focused on how affirming our core value, those fundamental beliefs that define who we are, could have a huge impact on our thoughts, feelings, and even our actions.
So it's not just any positive statement. It has to be connected to what really matters deep down.
Exactly. And the research is pretty amazing. There was this study from the University of Pennsylvania. They found that when people repeated self-affirmations, it actually increased activity in a certain part of their brain, the ventromedial prefrontal cortex.
That's the part of the brain that deals with, like, self-processing and how we value ourselves.
It's like we're strengthening the neural pathways that reinforce our sense of worth and identity.
So it's like rewiring our brains for the better. And that rewiring, it can actually lead to positive changes in our behavior, right? Like making healthier choices.
Absolutely. There's research showing that people who write self-affirmations are more likely to make healthier choices, like exercising more or eating more fruits and vegetables.
Wow, so it's like those affirmations bridge the gap between our good intentions and our actual actions.
Right. It's about aligning our subconscious beliefs with our conscious goals.
I even tried this myself. I went through a tough time a while back, and I used to repeat this affirmation: I am a worthy person, and I have a divine right to experience happiness and to have positive things happen in my life.
And how did that work for you?
It really did help. It gave me a boost of confidence and self-esteem when I needed it most. But Dr. Hamilton's blog post, it mentions that affirmations, especially these broader ones, not the core value kind, they can sometimes backfire.
Yeah, he brings up a good point. If the affirmation feels too far removed from someone's reality, it can actually make them feel worse.
Right. Like if they're struggling with self-love and keep repeating, I love myself, it might create this inner conflict, like they're trying to convince themselves of something they don't truly believe.
Yeah, the gap between the affirmation and their reality is just too big.
So how do you bridge that gap? How do you craft affirmations that feel achievable, that genuinely help?
Well, one approach is to focus on progress, not perfection. Remember Coué and his famous affirmation. Every day, in every way, I am getting better and better. It acknowledges that we're on a journey, that we're constantly evolving.
I like that. It's gentler, more realistic. And it reminds me of Muhammad Ali and his unwavering self-belief, how he constantly affirmed, I am the greatest, even before he was widely recognized as such.
Oh, Ali's a great example. His story shows how affirmations can help us reach our full potential.
Right. It's not about pretending we're already there, but about cultivating that inner belief that drives us forward. And it's not just about confidence and self-esteem either. There's research suggesting that affirmations can even push us to make those healthier choices we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, there's a study that showed people who wrote self-affirmations ended up exercising more and eating healthier than those who didn't. That's like the affirmations helped them actually do what they knew was good for them.
That's so interesting. But how does that work? What's the mechanism there?
Well, a few things are happening. First, affirmations can lower our defenses and resistance to change. When we feel more secure in ourselves, we're more open to stepping outside our comfort zone and trying new things.
Makes sense. It's like if we're constantly putting ourselves down, we're less likely to believe we can succeed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And second, affirmations boost our self-efficacy, that belief in our ability to achieve our goals. And when we believe we can do something, we're more likely to actually put in the effort and stick with it, even when things get tough.
It's like those affirmations give us that extra push, that inner strength to keep going. Speaking of tough times, the blog post also talked about how self-affirmations can help us handle challenges better.
Right. There's some interesting research from UC Santa Barbara and Cornell. They found that self-affirmations can actually broaden our sense of self. And when our sense of self feels bigger, our problems start to seem smaller in comparison.
It's like gaining a whole new perspective.
Exactly. And that shift in perspective can be incredibly empowering.
This has been so eye-opening. We've covered a lot of ground here, from the history of affirmations to their effects on our brains and behavior. But the thing that really sticks with me is this idea that affirmations aren't just about feeling good. They can create real, tangible changes in our lives.
That's where the real magic happens, aligning our thoughts, beliefs, and actions to make our desires a reality.
That's a great way to put it. And for our listener out there who's probably eager to start harnessing the power of affirmations, we'll be back after a quick break to dig into the nitty-gritty of crafting effective affirmations and how to actually integrate them into your life. Stay with us. All right, so we're back and ready to get into the practical side of affirmations, how to make them actually work for you. We talked about all this fascinating science behind them, but now it's time for the how-to.
Yeah, exactly. Affirmations, they're not like magic spells or anything. They're more like tools, tools to help us shift our mindset gradually over time.
I like that. It's like, what's that saying? It's like tending a garden. You plant the seeds, you take care of them, and eventually you get to enjoy the fruits or vegetables or whatever you're growing.
I love that analogy. So it's about patience, consistency, but how do we actually plant those seeds, with affirmations? What makes them effective?
Yeah, what are the key ingredients for crafting affirmations that actually resonate and make a difference?
Well, the most important thing is they have to be personal. They have to be meaningful to you, not just some generic phrases you read in a book.
Right. It's about being authentic, finding those statements that really feel true to who you are and what you want to bring into your life. So how do we do that? How do we figure out what those authentic affirmations are?
You start by thinking about the areas in your life where you want to see positive change. Maybe it's confidence, maybe it's relationships, or even just a greater sense of peace and well-being.
Okay, so we're getting clear on our intentions.
Yeah.
But then how do we translate those into affirmations?
One thing that can really help is phrasing your affirmations in the present tense. Like it's already happening. So instead of saying, I want to be more confident, you'd say, I am confident and capable.
Ah, I see. It's about embodying that feeling now, not wishing for it in the future. And what about the wording itself? Do they always have to be positive? Can we acknowledge challenges?
Generally, yeah, positive affirmations tend to be more effective, but It's okay to address challenges. Just do it in a way that empowers you. So instead of denying fear, you could say something like, I am courageous and I can face my fears.
Right, it's about reframing those challenges as opportunities to grow. But even with the best affirmations, sometimes doubts still creep in. What do you do when that happens?
It's important to be kind to yourself. Recognize that those doubts are just thoughts. They're not necessarily true. So instead of fighting them, just notice them and then gently bring your focus back to your affirmation.
It's like we're training our minds to focus on the positive, kind of like working out at the gym, building those mental muscles. And just like with exercise, consistency is key. But how do you make affirmations a regular part of your life without it feeling like a chore?
It's different for everyone. Experiment and see what works for you. Some people like to write their affirmations in a journal. Others prefer to just repeat them silently throughout the day.
Yeah, I've heard of people making vision boards with their affirmations on them, or even recording themselves saying the affirmations and then listening back to it. It's about finding what clicks for you, what feels most powerful. So once you've found that method, how often should you do it? Like, is there a magic number?
There's no right or wrong answer there, but in general, I'd say make affirmations a daily practice, even just a few minutes each day. The important thing is to make it a routine that you can actually stick with, something you enjoy, not just another thing on your to-do list.
Right, it should feel good, not like another obligation. Earlier you mentioned affirmations working well with other practices. What did you mean by that?
Oh, yeah, I was thinking about mindfulness meditation. It's a great complement to affirmations. Because with mindfulness, you learn to observe your thoughts and feelings without judgment. And that creates space for the affirmations to really sink in.
So it's like mindfulness helps quiet the mental noise, and then the affirmations can take root. Are there other practices that work well too?
Oh, definitely. Visualization is another powerful one. As you repeat your affirmation, picture yourself living it, already embodying that desired outcome. Really feel it.
So it's not just about thinking the words, but actually feeling them, seeing them. And I'm guessing things like gratitude practices or even just doing acts of kindness, those could reinforce the positive changes too, right?
Exactly. Gratitude helps us focus on the good things we already have, which strengthens those positive neural pathways. And acts of kindness, even small ones, they create this ripple effect of positivity. It all comes back to those positive beliefs and behaviors we're trying to affirm.
It's like building this whole ecosystem of well-being, where our thoughts, feelings, and actions all work together to support our growth and transformation. And speaking of transformation, I bet our listener is curious about real-life examples. Stories about how affirmations have actually made a difference for people.
There are so many amazing stories out there. I'm thinking of this one entrepreneur. She was struggling with a lot of self-doubt, fear of failure, and she started repeating this affirmation every morning. I am a successful and resourceful entrepreneur. And within a few months, she landed this huge investment deal that really took her business to the next level.
Wow, that's incredible. It shows what believing in yourself can do, even when things are tough. But of course, everyone's journey is different, right? There's no guarantee of overnight success.
Right. It's about trusting the process, being patient, and seeing what unfolds.
It's about that belief in your own potential and using affirmations as a tool to nurture that belief and see where it takes you. And for our listener, ready to start their own affirmation journey, we'll be right back to explore some practical tips and techniques for integrating affirmations into your everyday life.
Okay, we're back. Oh yeah, I think it's totally normal to feel a little hesitant, especially in the beginning. One thing that can help is starting with affirmations that really speak to you, Ones that feel authentic, aligned with your values. Because when you actually believe what you're saying, it doesn't feel so forced. It feels more powerful, more genuine.
Right. It's about starting with something you can actually connect with, not trying to convince yourself of something you're not quite ready for. So once you've got your affirmations, then what? When and where do you actually practice them?
It's all about finding what works for you. Some people like to start their day with affirmations, kind of sets the tone for the day. Others prefer to do them at night, maybe as part of their bedtime routine. It's like letting those affirmations seep into your subconscious as you fall asleep.
I like that. Bedtime affirmations.
Yeah.
And what about during the day? Are there any good times to sneak them in?
Oh, absolutely. You can make them a part of your everyday routine, Like while you're getting ready in the morning, on your commute, even while you're doing the dishes. It's like turning those ordinary moments into little affirmation rituals.
Right. It's about finding those little pockets of time to reinforce those positive beliefs.
Sure.
And I imagine that combining affirmations with other activities, like exercise or being out in nature, could make them even more powerful, right?
Yeah, for sure. When you're doing something that lifts your mood and energy, it's like those affirmations get amplified. You're creating this like synergy where the positive vibes from the activity feed into the affirmation and vice versa.
I love that. So we've talked about repeating affirmations, but you also mentioned writing them down earlier. Can you tell us more about that? How can we incorporate writing into the whole affirmation process?
Writing is great because it engages your brain differently than just thinking or saying affirmations. It helps solidify those beliefs. One thing you could try is writing your affirmations in a journal every morning, sort of setting your intentions for the day. It's a visual reminder, too.
Oh, yeah. And I've also seen people put those sticky notes with affirmations written on them, like all over the place, on their mirror, their computer, even the fridge.
That's a great idea. It's about keeping those positive messages front and center, letting them sink in, on a deeper level.
So we focus mainly on self-affirmations in this deep dive. But what about those other types of affirmations, the ones that aren't necessarily connected to your core values? Do all these techniques apply to those as well?
Oh, totally. Those same principles of consistency and intention and that whole idea of authenticity, they apply to any kind of affirmation. The important thing is to pick affirmations that feel right for you, that support your overall well-being.
So whether you're affirming your core values, building self-confidence, or just trying to bring more joy and abundance into your life, these techniques can help make affirmations a real game changer.
Yeah, and remember, it's a journey, not a destination, right? Be patient with yourself, try different things, and most importantly, have fun with it.
That's such a good reminder. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. So any final thoughts for our listener who's now loaded with all this information and ready to start using affirmations?
I just say as you go on this journey with affirmations, remember that you have the power to create your own reality. What you think, what you believe, even the words you speak, it all shapes your experience. So choose to focus on the good, be kind to yourself, and have faith in your own ability to grow and change.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today. This deep dive into affirmation science has been amazing.
My pleasure. And to our listener, I encourage you to go out there and experiment with affirmations. See what works for you, and watch as those little positive shifts you create start to make a big difference in your life.
That's it for this deep dive. Until next time, keep believing in yourself and in the incredible possibilities that are out there waiting for you.